Anna was only 17, but life had already carved strength into her spirit. She woke each day before sunrise, her hands wrapped around the wooden handle of a hoe, helping her father tend the small patch of land that fed their family. The soil was tough, the work endless, yet she never complained. There was a quiet fire in her eyes, a determination that went far beyond the fields. When her chores ended, she would hurry back home, light a worn-out lantern, and study late into the night. Books were scarce in her little village, but she treasured each page like it was gold. Her father often told her, "Knowledge is the seed that grows into freedom, Anna." Those words were etched in her heart, guiding her through the exhaustion of every long day. The villagers admired her kindness but often shook their heads at her dreams. A farmer's daughter applying for a scholarship funded by one of the richest CEOs in the city seemed impossible. "Those opportunities are for the wealthy," they whispered. But Anna never let their doubts weigh her down. She believed her father's sacrifices deserved more than a small life bound to the fields. When news came that the CEO's foundation was holding interviews for their annual scholarship program, Anna's heart raced. She had only one set of neat clothes, an old dress her mother had stitched before she passed away, but she decided that would be enough. For her, this was not just about education. It was about proving that resilience mattered more than riches. As she gazed at the fading horizon after another day in the fields, she whispered to herself, "This is my chance." And with that, her journey from the dusty farmlands toward a destiny she could only imagine had begun. In the city, far from Anna's quiet village, the man who would test her waited behind a polished oak desk that gleamed like his reputation. Mr. Blake was a CEO whose wealth and power intimidated everyone around him. He believed success was measured in numbers, not in heart. His interviews were infamous, designed less to discover talent and more to expose weakness. He relished watching young applicants stumble under the weight of his questions, convinced that only those who mirrored his arrogance deserved opportunity. To him, poverty was a sign of failure, and humility a weakness. On the day Anna's turn arrived, she stepped nervously into the towering glass building. The marble floors reflected her worn shoes, and the assistants seated nearby smirked at her simple dress. Whispers floated through the air like sharp daggers. "She won't last 5 minutes." But Anna lifted her chin, determined not to let their laughter pierce her spirit. Inside the interview room, Mr. Blake leaned back in his leather chair, his eyes narrowing as he looked her up and down. He smirked, certain this girl from the fields was a waste of his time. "So," he began in a tone dripping with condescension, "you think you can compete with the best students in the country?" His words were meant to intimidate, but Anna's steady gaze didn't waver. The board members seated along the wall exchanged uneasy glances. Some admired her courage, others feared the CEO's wrath if she failed. Yet in that moment, the air was heavy with the unspoken truth. This interview was not going to be ordinary. While Mr. Blake prepared to crush her confidence with impossible questions, Anna silently reminded herself of her father's wisdom. She wasn't here to prove she was rich. She was here to prove she was strong. The interview began with a sharp edge, as if Mr. Blake wanted to break her spirit from the very first question. He leaned forward, his voice cold and commanding. "If the global economy crashes tomorrow, how would you stabilize a corporation of 10,000 employees?" It was a question designed to intimidate even the brightest students from elite schools. But Anna didn't falter. She smiled softly and replied, "When our crops fail, we don't abandon the field. We gather the village, share what little we have, and work together until the land recovers. A company is not so different. It survives when people stand together, not when they are left alone." The room fell silent, her words landing with unexpected weight. Mr. Blake narrowed his eyes, surprised but unwilling to show it. He quickly threw another question. "What's leadership to you?" Anna's answer was steady, her voice carrying both innocence and wisdom. "Leadership is like planting seeds. You don't push them to grow by force. You nurture them, protect them, and believe in them until they rise on their own." Some of the board members shifted in their seats, clearly moved, while others scribbled notes, as if they had just witnessed something rare. Frustrated, Mr. Blake tried again, this time with a trick about supply and demand curves. Anna tilted her head, thought for a moment, and then explained it in terms of harvest cycles, how scarcity drives up the value of crops and abundance lowers it. Her comparisons were so simple, yet so profound, that even the assistants peeking from the doorway leaned closer. With every answer, the balance of power shifted. The man who entered the room expecting to laugh at a poor farmer's daughter now found himself unsettled. Anna wasn't just answering his questions, she was unraveling his arrogance, piece by piece. At last, Mr. Blake leaned back in his chair, his face unreadable. For a long moment, he simply stared at Anna, as if searching for a crack in her calm. Then he asked the final question, his voice low but cutting. Why do you deserve this scholarship more than anyone else? It was the kind of question designed to expose pride, to force candidates to boast about themselves. But Anna didn't speak of her own strength, her sleepless nights of study, or her courage in facing him. Instead, her eyes softened, and she spoke of her father. She told them how he had sacrificed his health to work the fields after her mother passed away, how he often skipped meals so she could eat, and how he believed education was her only path to a better life. He gave up his dreams so I could chase mine, she said quietly. This scholarship isn't just for me, it's for him, for every parent who sacrifices everything but asks for nothing in return. And if I succeed, I want to use what I learned to help other children in villages like mine. No child should have to choose between survival and education. The boardroom, once filled with cold formality, was now heavy with emotion. A few members discreetly wiped tears from their eyes. Even the assistants in the hallway grew silent, their earlier laughter replaced by awe. And for Mr. Blake, something shifted deep within. For the first time in years, her words pierced the armor of his pride. Memory stirred, of his own humble beginnings, of a mother who had worked 2 jobs so he could go to school, of a version of himself he had long buried under wealth and ego. Anna had not just answered the question. She had awakened something he thought he had lost forever. For a moment, silence lingered in the grand room, broken only by the faint hum of the air conditioner. Mr. Blake, usually quick to dismiss and move on, found himself unable to speak. He looked at Anna, this young girl with calloused hands and a heart far greater than her circumstances, and something inside him softened. He rose slowly from his chair, his commanding presence now tempered by humility. With a voice that carried less arrogance and more reverence, he said, "The scholarship is yours." Gasps echoed from the assistants outside the door, and the board members nodded in quiet agreement, some even smiling through their tears. But then, something even more unexpected happened. Mr. Blake cleared his throat and added, "And from today, I am committing resources to build schools in villages like yours. Education should not be a privilege for the wealthy. It should be a right for every child." His words, so unlike the man everyone knew, stunned the room. Anna's eyes filled with tears, though she tried to hold them back. She had come only to win an opportunity for herself, yet she was leaving with a victory for countless others. She stood, bowed her head respectfully, and whispered, "Thank you, not just for me, but for my village." As she walked out of the towering glass building, the same assistants who had mocked her earlier now looked at her with admiration. That day, Anna carried more than a scholarship in her hands. She carried proof that courage, humility, and compassion could transform even the hardest of hearts. Her story became a reminder that true intelligence is not measured by wealth or status, but by resilience, kindness, and the ability to dream beyond one's circumstances. And with every step she took back toward her village, hope followed close behind.